Right, so now we have Mika standing by with XQC of Team Canada to get his thoughts about China.
Thanks. If Bren is guaranteed to be strapped to that desk, I can now finally finish my interview with XQC. So, yesterday you went up against France. How were you feeling going into that match?
Yesterday against France, we were confident. We didn't really know too much like what to expect because we didn't play against them in scrims, obviously. So we went pretty blind, but we just stick to our strats, stick to our strengths, play our game, and it ended up pretty well.
And we've seen some of the comps that China's been bringing, but so far they're still kind of a wild card. So can you give us a little insight in what you and your team have been doing to prepare for this game?
Not much, because we didn't have a lot of info against them either. We were pretty much scared of like European goats, which is very, very scary. You saw UK, they did pretty well. Very, very scary style. They go fast, they go hard. And it's tough to prepare against, but I don't think the China runs that much. So I'm feeling very confident against them right now.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, last question. So, if you score any like sweet exclusive BlizzCon merch, is there a chance that you can just conveniently leave it backstage like you did at the boys' apartment? Because it's kind of cold back there.
No.
Well, you heard it here first. I'm not going to get a new jacket. That's fine. It's fine. I don't care. Thanks, XQC. Back to you guys at the desk.
You know what? You know what? I admire Mika for going for it. You know, I admire it, you know, because I would have done the same exact thing. So, you know, I mean, come on, man, right? Everyone just wants some comfort, you know? Anywho. And then also another thing, real quick, we do got to talk about. A very interesting little tidbit came yesterday from Jane. He had mentioned XQC had an issue on the stage, and the issue was that his right click wasn't working on his mouse.
Kind of important if you want to play Reinhardt.
Kind of important if you want to play Reinhardt. Now, their plan was always, to play, and I had a chance to speak to Jane about this. Their plan was always to play like more of that like Winston focus composition. Yeah. But when League Ops went up to him and said, "We'll find you another mouse," XQC says, "No. I want to stay in the zone." That is probably the most XQC thing that you can do.
So good.
So League Ops is like, okay. What are you supposed to do at that moment? Oh, boy. Well,
amazing.
Crazy stuff here. But I do kind of want to talk about this Canadian roster. And Josh, you know, this squad, they have a lot going for them. They
do. They've got a lot going for them. And they've also decided, kind of strangely, to start giving gifts over to their opponents, which I don't know whether they're laced with something or whether it's like
psychological warfare,
poisonous gifts or psychological warfare. They've been giving away little lovely packaged parcels, little ribbons and bows and gifts. And this maple syrup is part of it as well.
It's a lovely drink,
I dare you to drink that right now.
This is syrup. This is not a drink.
If you've got anything about you, you do it.
It's viscous.
If you've got anything about you, you do it.
I don't know whether it's poisonous. You know, they're giving it away to... Oh, go on, then.
No. That is maple syrup.
Oh. What are you doing, John?
You want water?
You drank the whole thing. Cut, please. He's going to throw up.
No.
He's going to throw up, man.
He's actually
gone. Dude, what are you doing? Oh, God almighty.
I needed that after the UK game.
Okay, all right. Predictions. Bren.
What? You're disgusting. You actually disgust me.
That was not what we planned.
It's my calorific content for the week.
I'm telling you, predictions.
I'm predicting China, man.
Reinforced predictions.
I love Canada, dude. I gotta go with a 3-2 to Canada. Let's go.
3-2 to Canada, and I mean, you have to.
I have to what? This actually didn't taste that good. I'm going with China. Sorry, dudes.
All right, well, let's go ahead and bring out your first team to the Overwatch World Cup stage. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Team China. Team China completely unaware of the things that we just pulled off here on the desk, and I think I envy them for that.
So do you know why I went with Team China, though? Genuinely, it was not because that maple syrup tasted bad in any way. It's because they have 3 potential carry players on their team. When they play with Leave and Crystal, at the moment they've got Cheyenne because that's how they like to play the first map, but Leave and Crystal, when they were playing together, are just unreal good. And then they've got Gushue on the main tank who just can destroy people. So unless teams really adapt to how China plays and shuts them down, they've got so much individual
And we've
skill.
seen that impact that a strong main tank can have with fusions in the UK, and Gushui is literally that same thing.
I love Gushui, I really do. Like, he's up there for the T-Mobile MVP right now, in my opinion. This guy is absolutely insane. One of the stars to come out of this China squad. And realistically, if he does not get signed for the Overwatch League Season 2, I'm going to be shocked.
Yeah, no, I agree. There are a lot of players here that we've seen at the Overwatch World Cup that honestly should be looking for those opportunities in the Overwatch League. But anyway, now let's go ahead and bring out your second team to the stage. Representing the North, it's Team Canada. And one player that I'm particularly looking out for here is Mangachu. I am a big fan of this guy. He's the one, dude, that he has no fear busting out the Torbjorn in a gold medal match in 2017. But Reinforce, your thoughts?
The reason I'm going with Canada here is actually because I think that China will win the first map. I think Canada will have to almost reverse it. Well, I'm getting there. Give me some time. I'll give you room.
I'd rather cut you off instead.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason is, I think that Canada are so used to playing this anti-ghost composition with the Sombra, with the Doomfist, with the Pharah, and it's going to take them some time to adapt to this China team that's running so many different kind of compositions. Yes, this is the man of the hour, sure, on that Sombra. But I think that throughout the series, Canada will realize they have to change things up. I think they'll put it maybe in agilities, run some more Genji, etc. So when they get going, I think XQC's Winston and agility's Genji will be crucial to bring down this Chinese team.
You think their Winston Genji play is better than Gushui and Crystal or Gushui and Lee?
Well, otherwise I wouldn't have predicted them, right?
Whoa, I think you're barking up the wrong tree.
It's a team game, 6 members in the squad. Mangachu is calm as
Calm as a cucumber.
Calm as a cucumber. It's cool as a cucumber. That's that saying.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, now it's time to get to the action. The coaches have shaken hands, and it's over to the casters for this great matchup. We have Uber and Mr. X.
Thank you very much, Golden Boy in the desk. We've learned so much over this weekend already. We've learned, of course, that China are definitely been underestimated in the past. We've also learned that high amounts of calories are a replacement for real analysis. So we're like, it's like osmosis right now. We're really bringing it in. But the prelude to that game, I thought, was really interesting, right? Yeah. We've been talking about this a ton, like last night and at the moment. Neither of these two teams wants to play that triple tank, triple support comp. They kind of both shy away from it when they can.
I mean, Canada's best compositions involve the Doomfist Sombra combinations, or whether it's a Sombra Genji, something based around that Sombra play, right? Surefour, one of the better Sombras that we have, in the Overwatch League, in the world, really. And China, they saw yesterday against Finland, like they don't mind playing like an anti-triple tank, triple support compositions as well. So I think in this series, the most interesting thing is that I don't think you'll see a ton of triple tank, triple support. I think you'll see a lot of different variations. Oasis being map number 1, Mangachu in the lineup. You expect to see some Pharah play here. Really challenge China to take him out of the sky.
Yeah, this one's going to be a lot of fun. Lijiang Tower might lend itself towards some more of that GOAT strategy, but now, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading into Oasis, map 1 of this best of 5. Only one of these teams can advance to our gold medal match. It's going to be Canada in the red and China predominantly white. We're very interested to see actually compositionally, how interact. Do we see like the McCree Brig set up? Do we see Doomfist to try and break that? We've seen obviously China try and use Wrecking Ball quite a lot to try and break through those McCree-based compositions. It didn't really work out for them so much against Finland. They had other ways of breaking that down though.
Looks like China just trying to decide what they're going to go with DPS-wise. It will be the McCree. I think this is just a scouting of knowing Mangachu's in the lineup, knowing he is that Pharah specialist for Team Canada. You have to have some kind of hit scan on your side. Right now, McCree is the go-to pick for a decent amount of the maps in terms of hit scan.
Mangachu will have to make himself scarce for the most part and not really present himself as an easy target. Despite that, Leave is still able to peek out and get a couple of shots on him to start off. Mangachu, though, obviously being healed constantly by the ever-capable Crimzo on that Mercy pick. It looks like Canada want to move up to the point now. You see Buttress backwards shy. Pushed away while the Winston jump in now, and Surefour playing very close to this Widowmaker here. Leaving Gushui down early. Mangachu eventually gets the better of the Gunslinger, and Sky will drop. Node is very much involved in these fights, and Surefour really just has to contribute from the fringes.
Yeah, and I think the Widowmaker pick here is kind of surprising, one, because Surefour has done so good on the Sombra, but it also challenges Team China in a way to pick a target, right? If you want to dive, you have to be well executed to get to Surefour in the back line. If you do get there, Mangachu is probably just going to sit above him, just rain rockets down. You have the Mercy there to be able to fly to Surefour rather quickly. This will be infrasight used by Surefour, so Canada's going to gain a ton of information, going to help Mangachu land this rocket barrage.
Late Young has spotted Mangachu. He wants to get this one in without the defense matrix in the way, and Lee was caught unawares from above. Mangachu brings the barrage, and he survives it as well. Late Young can only look on in dismay as two of his teammates are obliterated before he can bring the defense matrix to bear. A polite gesture, of course, as China will now have to rally the troops once more.
And I love talking with Mangachu when we were doing all the team meetings and discussing the new Pharah with him. Because, a lot of Pharah players, some players are like, oh, it's definitely an advantage, right? And some are like, oh, well, I really like that splash damage that she used to have. Where he was saying now, the biggest thing for him was actually being able to use that concussive blast to knock players into his direct hits. As Late Young launches the self-destruct, he gets taken out before he gets in his mech. So China going to be stalled here. Canada doing a very nice job here at the beginning. They're going to get a ton of percentage out of this, Mitch. It's not looking good for China at the beginning.
They still want to persist with this fight and come forward by the looks of things in the found XQC. Once again, Mangachu, concussive blast, gets in position. Transcendence now being used by China. Staves off much of the damage, but Mangachu's still a threat here in the sky. Speaking of which, Shy and Sky obviously on that support role here. We just saw the Transcendence from China. And now Crimson just trying to follow up here. We notice the note is a little bit low in the middle of the map, and Surefour wraps around here. Hard for him to find a really easy target now with that sound barrier having been used, but he's going to get knocked around now. It's dangerous for him. Grappling hook back to spawn, gets his health. Unfortunately, Canada probably won't remain in control at this point here as Crimson was cleaned off, but Matthew, it's 95-0.
But if you only need to win one fight, Canada can switch to something, whether it's going to be Doomfist, Sombra, or they can stay on this. In that position, Surefour can't really get a lot done on Widowmaker because you have all that rally armor coming on. You had the sound barrier as well. Can't insta-kill any of those squishies. It's very hard to find the McCree in that situation because if you do get close to McCree, you get his real effective range, and he should be able to win that.
Mangachu closing in on yet another barrage, but XQC is felled by Sky and Co. early in the fight. Leave also had the Deadeye. Mangachu needs to be ready to drop altitude rapidly. If he hits that Q key, you won't have a chance. Lee finds him with a cheeky 3-tap and sends him packing. 35% now for Team China.
Now, Mangachu right now is accounting for 46% of overall team hero damage for Team Canada. That is a large number. You have Surefour putting down some shots, finishing off some of these players. Here's the barrage that'll come in.
Oh, defense matrix was there this time from Lei Young, and Lee gets the finish up. Transcendence was forced out from Sky, though. So China still forced to commit that ultimate. Bunny, though, getting mowed over. Lee is just on a riot now. Give the McCree some space, and he'll do damage.
And I think you're going to see Canada make some changes. It didn't seem to be working out. So this is what Canada can do, is you can win a few fights at the beginning. You can get that advantage not playing that triple tank, triple support. Now you come in and you do play it. So they'll have Mangachu play the Brig. XQC goes over to Orion, Surefour, the Zarya. They're not going to run the Zen. They're going to run the Ana version of this comp.
Surefour takes a bit of damage as he does pass by the Chinese squad. To the high ground now to charge up that particle laser a little bit more, and Yushui not low, but he doesn't primal rage. This could be quite dangerous for Team Canada if they continue to persist with this high ground play. Yushui drops down, it's time for primal rage. This could be nasty. Evil targets two over the edge, and Batty being the third. Environmental kills galore here for China, and they're at 98%. Canada may have lost their opportunity to maintain control of this match. Surefour's a pancake with purple hair, and China takes round one.
Overwatch is a game right now, Mitch, where if you stay on one comp for even one fight too long, it ends up costing you the round. And I think they may have stayed on that Widowmaker Pharah comp for maybe one fight too long, because
that's beautiful popping.
Yeah, it's really sick. Ooh, almost makes it back on.
3 over the edge.
But if you switch to triple tank, triple support the fight previously, you extend that fight, then you get the next one. You probably have a rally. You're very close to like a Graviton Surge. Then you give yourself a real chance of just winning that one fight you needed. But when you switch to it so late, it's just that one extra fight where they wanted to use the Rocket Barrage. They didn't really have the infrasight on the Widowmaker. Probably ends up losing them that point.
Well, the fish on Oasis is definitely being well fed today, but Canada is still hungry. And we head into round 2 at the University. This is an interesting rollout. China actually opting to path through the lower part of the map and directly onto the point here. Canada may be able to hear some of the footsteps of some of these larger characters, as theirs are often more audible than the more slight and lighter foot. And China moves on to the point. Canada maybe just a little bit flustered by that and off just to give space.
Well, it's Canada, backing up here a little bit, but China takes that route because they want to close the gap before Canada can do enough damage at range to where once China would have gotten close, Boucher could have been low and then they would have dropped that Discord orb on him, but China takes this great positioning, Mitch. Now they're starting to be the aggressor, pushing Canada back.
Perhaps they are comfortable, Matt, playing this more tank-oriented composition. The inclusion of the Sombra is interesting, though. So it's only 2 supports. There is no Brigitte on the side of China. Shy, though, definitely able to make a difference with that EMP.
And there's no Zen as well, so you don't have the Discord orb from China to be able to burst down some of these tanks. You have Crimzo playing the Zen for Canada. We'll see if he's able to drop those Discord orbs, and then you have a lot of burst damage with this Doomfist now.
Mangachu gets himself airborne. Very quick barrier provided by Leave. Keeps Evil Tal alive, and Mangachu looks like confused Travolta out there. Nowhere to go. No way, of course, to give himself extra durability and shielding. Short fall down, just tickles the point, but Leave is causing a lot of problems currently for Canada. Quite often noticed just having his defense matrix lasered through. He cannot mitigate Leave's primary fire damage, and when he's charged up between 70 and 100%, essentially another DPS is Xayah.
And this is huge for China. You have the grab, you have the EMP, and self-destruct combo, and there's going to be the Graviton Surge. You use it just to get Bonnie, so you don't even need to use the self-destruct or the EMP there.
I mean, that body grenade for XQC means that he doesn't get healing for that Transcendence. He now has to go for the Primal Rage, but it pays off. He finds Sky and sends him to his namesake. Now Leave set up on the point. He is very well charged. His cooldowns are being well managed. The self-destruct over the top forces 4 players on Canada to disengage, essentially, but they're back, and they're back with alacrity indeed. EMP now dropped off. Mangachu, though, is also hacked as he tries to approach, but Lei Young's mech is gone. Leave's also down. Important player missing. Canada flip back to the point where the fight's not quite done yet. Gooseray wants to still contest a little more. Sky's also there for the extra healing. Down the hole goes XQC. And he'll need to heal up before he tries to return to the fray. Canada needs to stall out and be ready. Yes, they're going to bring the sound barrier in here, Matt. The fight is far from done.
Yeah, it's going to be an Earth Shatter and Gooseray, though. You're going to lose Bonnie, so you just have Crimzo in that support role, and Zen's not going to be able to provide enough healing to keep everybody up. They do get the Transcendence here, so let's see if that big Zen ultimate could turn the tides.
Gooseray gets hacked and drops down the pit. He can't do too much without his abilities available to him, and here's the turnaround. Lei Young is down. EMP dropped over the top. Note is there, and Leave is close to a Graviton. He's looking to swing the fight. Mangachu is relatively low, but still playing in that front line. And Leave knows that Note has his ultimate as well. They're going to take a big step back, and Canada really had to fight tooth and claw for that one.
So now China, they'll make some changes to their comp. So now they're going to have, okay, so they're going to run the triple support. They're going to run a Zen of their own. So you have the Brigitte, Zen, Lucio. And they're going to play it with a Winston as the main tank. Very interesting call here. That's going to be an EMP there for Surefour. You're going to see Canada get aggressive behind this. They do lose Surefour, but you're going to pick up the remaining kills.
They're fine in this fight. It's absolutely a must-win for them. And most importantly, they maintain that Transcendence with Crimzo. Often against tank compositions, speaking to Boombox earlier, we'll see maybe Transcendence used more frivolously sometimes because it's easier to recharge, but Crimzo not about it. Going to hold on to it, and this may be the most important fight of this map.
We saw Gooseray yesterday block a Transcendence with that Winston bubble. Maybe it's something he thinks he's so good he can just do it consistently. Knowing Crimzo has that big Zen ultimate, as that'll be the grab coming down. It's going to be Transcendence with a self-destruct, so everybody's going to stay alive through it. It's going to be Note launching his self-destruct over the top, connects with nothing, but it does force China to back up a bit.
Really smart by XQC. He had to pop Primal Rage to survive that, as the bubble was actually preventing him from benefiting, and the healing wouldn't have mattered with the burst! And Canada out of nowhere just maintain that control. Once you let them in, as polite as Canadians may be, they seem very reluctant to leave. Canada go again. We'll take it to a 3rd round on Oasis.
And what do you think about having the Winston in that composition? Now, I know we joked around. We've seen kind of a dive-oriented version of the triple tank, triple support with Winston, Wrecking Ball, and Diva, but they decided to go with Winston, Zarya, Diva there.
So Winston, what we've heard from teams and how we see it sort of play out is you're really wanting to try and get into the back line and quickly pick off those more fragile targets, your Crimzos of the world, as it were. So we've seen it work, we've seen the UK do it, but a lot of teams think it's easily broken.
So this composition from Canada is something we've seen from them in the past, and then I believe the London Spitfire ran a version of this. I know it may have been in the Overwatch League Finals where Fury was playing the Soldier 76 for them. So They'll run 76 Reaper. 76 does get a little bit of buff, so he should be able to control that high ground. And then you're going to want to get this Reaper in as close as possible.
Shortfall just took a headshot immediately there and is forced into Wraith form. That's not how he would have wanted to start the fight. And that problem is, when he's in Wraith form, he's not participating and doing damage. So China had way more front-loaded burst to begin the fight. And Canada crumbled.
Sure will go McCree here as they don't feel like they can probably get the Reaper in the position. No to play D.Va, so that composition's we've seen it work at the beginning. If you can get the Reaper in without using that Wraith form at the beginning, the Reaper starts to put down some damage, the consistent damage from the 76 up on the high ground. We're able to finish off players rather quickly. Once it doesn't work, you have to almost switch off of it.
You cannot approach the fight without your escape tool available. That was the issue. McCree also causes problems for Reaper at mid to long range, and Leave has really been dominant on this pick so far. He's getting slightly split from the rest of his team in this spot. You can see the drop down there from Sky to try and keep him alive. Eviltal was there though. XQC, Note's mech's gone. Leave in a position now to try and set up for a Deadeye, but it's unlikely he bothers. Couldn't quite catch the fleeing bunny with the flashbang, but we're playing in traffic now. Canada quickly trying to exit the stage.
And this is one of the hardest points in the game, I think, to take back. When teams usually get control at the beginning, unless they kind of really mess up their holds, you usually see this get to 90% or so. So it's not too surprising for China at the beginning to have this much percentage. It's going to be difficult for Canada to take it back.
Leave might be setting up for a bouncing
Deadeye, yeah.
It's possible, but I mean, it's a little bit hard to make it work if Note's just going to be there and eat up the bullets. So
Deadeye from the high ground and then boop them to the other side of the pillar.
Chinese teams were the first I actually saw doing that, to be honest. It was like the OWPS finals last year. It was quite amusing. Either way, Leave gets checking the flank. He knows someone will probably be coming from at some stage. It's actually XQC, who, as we know, prefers the more direct approach, but he gets headshot with a Discord Orb. He's going to go very low. Bunny taken down by the self-destruct, and Eviltal now going to bring the sound barrier into the fight. Bunny, no opportunity to get his Lucio ultimate, and it's a huge boon for China pushing forward, but XQC still tries to even the ledger. Gets rid of Shy, but now Jushui is causing a lot of problems for Crimzo. He does have that extra armor though. A big difference maker, of course, with Brigitte in your lineup, but Jushui couldn't finish him off. Leave gets pushed off the point, and now China are going to try and stall it out.
Yeah, I mean, Bonnie is forced to use sound barrier there because they realize, Canada, that this fight's gone on for so long. It is the final fight, so you need to use some of these ultimates. Leave still with this Deadeye could clear some players out.
Crimzo needs to stay alive and get that Transcendence. Immediately it pops it. This is where Canada have to go aggressive, and they do. Shulfer on the McCree now pushing up, and the Deadeye could be an issue. XQC is down. Leave finds it with the McCree ultimate, and now heads are rolling. Leave the executioner. China absolutely running away with it here, and they will take Oasis. What an explosive way to begin this series.
China continues to look very strong. I think Canada was probably thrown off a bit with, they probably expected like, hey, we can come in and run some of our stuff. We have Sherfor, a very talented McCree player, right? Kind of the hero he got first known for way back at the beginning.
Tracer.
Probably felt like, hey, if we get a McCree on McCree matchup, we like that if we're Canada, but Leave was very good on McCree in map number 1.
It's hard to make him succeed against compositions like what we saw from Canada, which is ostensibly designed to shut him down, or at least put some pressure on him. Leave accounted for 23% of his team's overall damage. Only died 5 times, which is almost the least on his team. Eviltal only died once, which is quite significant indeed. But in general, China more successful in a lot of those team fights. And you saw XQC there, that Primal Rage towards the end of the round, but he was discorded. And he was getting shot in the head consistently by Leave. Sometimes he's an easier target. The flashbang, of course, just to give the McCree some space. And somehow he stays alive in that fight. But again, struggle city for Canada on that final stage.
Yeah, I mean, if XQC is going to use the Primal and try and get into the back line, put pressure on the McCree, you need to find those kills somewhere else, right? Because he's just trying to create space for the rest of the team, occupy the McCree, get in his face, right? When the Winston Primal rages, gets in McCree's face, it's not really anything else he could shoot at, right? But when the Discord comes down on him, they burn him down so quick. There's the Discord also on the side of Canada. Like, where is that going? You gotta take somebody out. It's probably going on to Gushui, but he does such a good job of staying alive. He only dies, I think, 4 times in map number 1.
Yeah, which is on the lower end of the spectrum from most of the Chinese teams. We can have a little bit of a look, I suppose, at some of the highlights from map number 1 in a moment. There's definitely a lot to be discussed. I think that composition, the Reaper 76, did not work out at all, though.
Well, I think it's because Sherfor gets hit with a headshot right away, and then he to use Wraith form. Like, if he could have got in there, started putting down some damage, he would have got Note up on the high ground. I think that composition probably would have worked out.
I can see the McCree play in general was pretty solid. You mentioned Lee, that headshot on Shore 4 opened things up. Mangachu had to really play around this McCree pick.
This is the point that I think Canada would have liked to have back. I think that extra fight staying on the Widowmaker denied them some big ultimates towards the end of the game, especially when they wanted to go to the triple tank, triple support setup. Now, you switch a fight earlier, just looking at the ultimates there, Bonnie probably has a sound barrier. You probably use that to stay alive. You're going to get rally, then you get a grab, and maybe you can make something out of it.
And sometimes, you know, there is a discussion, you know, about players, you know, stalling late fights. Let's say you're not in control of the point. The enemy has control. They're gaining ultimate percentage. You're still fighting, and you're saying, I'm building ultimate. You know, we see actually Zarya used to do that quite a lot because her ultimate was quite hard to build up over time. Now it's a little bit easier, especially with these tank compositions. Yeah. But you're also feeding ultimate percentage over to the enemy team. You can allow them to continue to snowball. Like we saw in the previous match as well, players like Dronark have a transcendence every fight. We're seeing Graviton Surge every fight. These are incredibly impactful ultimates, and if you allow the enemy team to accrue, you know, 3 or 4 of them and keep them in reserve, then it's very hard to break them. That is a snowball effect that we see on a lot of these maps.
Yeah, and then on the last point, China's in such a great position because the point it was 1, just very hard to break in general, and then 2, Canada knows this and they have to throw some ults into it to try and swing the fights that they probably wouldn't have wanted. Like, obviously you would want to get a little bit more value out of sound barrier than getting, you know, yourself and then 2 other teammates, but Bonnie is forced to just to keep everybody up to give them a chance to even win the fight. But then at that point, China's getting their own ultimates. They can use them a little bit more wisely, combo them together, and it just works out in China's favor.
China's a really interesting team. A lot of the teams that have been watching them, sort of some that are eliminated already and some that are sort of sizing them up as a potential opponent, are saying, Josh mentioned on the desk, they split their tanks. They spread out completely. I spoke to Zappers yesterday, and he's like, yeah, we can't follow their cadence at all. We've got some substitutions for you, by the way, as we continue to sort of talk over this. But yeah, this Chinese team, they're throwing all these looks that none of the teams are expecting. It's the way that they actually set up their tanks, that they sort of split in what seems like a risky fashion. They force 1v1s across the map as well, you know, and make sure that they're in advantageous positions. Crystal coming in now as well. We've seen him be very proficient on the DPS. And Agilities is in for Canada. Obviously, we've seen him with a lot of Doomfist play, specifically. Obviously, Mangachu, you know, had a crack at some of the earlier on. Had a little bit of trouble on University.
Yes, it looks like Mangachu will be the one coming out for Agilities. So you'll have Agilities and Sure 4 in this map. Usually, you know, that we're looking at, you know, Doomfist, Sombra, Genji with the Sombra as well here. As it looks like we're going to be heading over to Blizzard World for this next map. But like you did mention, you know, when you watch this Chinese team play, just kind of, you know, when we go to those wide shots, just take a look of where everybody is. It's something I noticed yesterday on the minimap. When they play triple tank, triple support, you think the best way to play that is to just stack up, right? That's how you're getting maximum value to everybody. But it's really just split. And I think that's kind of throws teams for a loop because it's like, well, who do we attack? If we go over here, we're just kind of pushing on towards, you know, maybe into a trap.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Blizzard World, map was right, is going to be our next map in this particular series. We call it a hybrid map because it's a combination. If you're not familiar with how hybrid works, we've got this prepared for you just in case.
This is hybrid. 2 teams face off as either defenders or attackers. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to first capture a payload and then escort it along a set path containing 2 checkpoints. To capture the payload, the attackers need to stand within its range for a set amount of time. Defenders can delay capture progress by also standing in range. The attackers must work together to clear away the defenders. If successful, they score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. The payload only moves forward when an attacker stands near it. Defenders can delay the payload's movement by standing nearby. To get moving again, the attackers must clear away the defenders by force. If even one attacker is capturing the objective or on the payload when the time runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until the attackers are either cleared away or they gain more time by reaching a checkpoint. Every time the payload reaches a checkpoint, the attackers score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. The round ends when the payload reaches the destination or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points and escorts the payload farthest wins.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was how hybrid works. Get it? Got it? Good. We're going to be jumping in just a moment. Blizzard World a map that we've seen even some of the best teams here struggle to finish. It's long, it's treacherous, and also the landscape of the map changes so much between stages that it forces compositional changes quite often as well.
I mean, you do have a good amount of verticality across the entire map. Not as much here on first point as it would be to, you know, as you progress through the second stage of the map. So
you don't get causeways and bridges and you know, platforms. This is kind of as good as it gets, and attacking teams have a little bit of high ground, but it doesn't really put them in a position where they can look down at the defenders.
Yeah, I mean, with the verticality in the second stage of the map, though, once you unlock the point and unlock the payload, you do have ways where, you know, the less mobile characters can get to the high ground, right? A lot of, you know, staircases up to the bridge. You see a little peek of it there, but talk a little bit about what Canada looks like to be doing on D here, potentially. Sure, going for the Widowmaker pick. Agility is going to play the Brigitte, so we're going to have 3 supports. Ana, Zen, and Brigitte, so usually you kind of say where's the Lucio, and then maybe you have Ana or the Zen. They're going to run both here, and they're going to have the Widowmaker. So Sherpur very strong on Widow during the Overwatch League. Because China, obviously they won't go for this.
No, they'll just Sonic the close position. This though, Farah Genji is, it's just, I mean,
Farah Genji.
Okay, I was going to say, Lei Young, what you doing? So Genji doing this still, the lack of Sombra is very interesting. Both these comps, man, are maybe not super standard.
I mean, we have seen teams run this, though. You know, a lot of, if you can build up that Nano Blade, right? It's so devastating, but usually you want the Nano Blade plus the EMP to take everything offline. But so with Doomfist, you can just jump on targets just like this. Sherpur barely making it out with his life.
Yeah, it's a tough landscape for Sure4's Widowmaker to navigate, but bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, he was the winner of the Overwatch All-Stars Widowmaker 1v1 competition. So if you do have your game viewer, keep it locked to him and see how he navigates a very tough environment for Widowmaker. Lever's down already, so Sure4 opens up well. Lei Young is not positioned expertly, but XQC did get Bardic naded for a moment. Primal Rage already. He's more than happy to pull the trigger on that ultimate as soon as he needs to make sure Canada can set up around it. XQC is creating a lot of space for his team, and they're just running China out of the business.
And if you are Canada, you want to create compositions and different setups where XQC can stay on that Winston.
Oh my!
He is so great on the hero. That's how
Sure4 kills him, by the way.
Yeah, the Doomfist dies to the headshot. But when you can have XQC play Winston and he can play aggressive, you know, you watch him at home. You know, when he starts playing aggressive, he starts feeling it. That's when he starts to play even better, right? Really rise that momentum.
Sure4's the kind of player, though, that isn't really shaken. He doesn't really show a lot of emotion. Sometimes people don't think he has any at all. I disagree, but he definitely has a desire to win, Matt. And XQC, I mean, playing Winston defensively on this map can be risky. You need to get the enemy team's face just like that. And he pays the price this time around. Goochway finds him with a Fire Strike, and now sound barrier for China as they propel themselves forward. Transcendence will slow them down, as well as Note using their self-destruct, buying valuable seconds here for Canada to try and regroup, to repel China. Goochway down to about half health. He is discorded, so keep an eye on that. If he drops that shield, he's in trouble. It's very low as well. If he allows his shield to break, it'll be trouble. But Crimzo went down to the self-destruct over the top from Lei Young. That's a lot of Canada's healing. No longer present. It's up to Bunny now. And Agilities to keep it going. But he gets sent flying by the Earth Shadow, of course. And Goochway now in a position just to shove them back.
Yeah, Note has been doing a nice job stalling this, allowing players to get back. That'll be the Graviton Surge. Primal Rage used as well, but it all kind of starts, Mitch. Sky lands that big biotic grenade on XQC as he's trying to go in deep with that nano boost. Denied all that healing, then he ends up falling there, and you lose that main tank. So difficult. So let's see what Canada goes to. So Doomfist here for agility. So they'll run Doom Sombra, and XQC will stay on Winston. Interesting, you know, we haven't seen much of Goochway's Reinhardt. Seems like, you know, just like how I said, Canada wants to make compositions to keep playing that Winston. Same with China. They switch off with the Reinhardt right away. They just use it to take that first point.
I mean, the high ground here is super important for the attacking team to be able to control, to allow them to gain safe passage through the low ground. Agilities is going to do this all day long. Drop in from the high ground, try and find rocket punch kills, and then ideally just get out of dodge. It is a sound barrier being used for China here, so they're very threatened by the presence of Canada in this fight. It's enough to help them push them back. Vanny and Agilities are down. Lee can't do a heck of a lot for this room, but look at how much protection he's got. He's got a vanguard of bulky heroes that he can then take shots across the map at will.
China will continue to move the payload here. A lot of changes happening here for Canada. Remember when we casted the USA game the other day? Just a lot of changes, and when you change so much, obviously, you know, it may give you an advantage in terms of, you know, the hero compositions team versus team. You lose out on those big ultimate abilities, though, right? So China, because they have not made a change here. They will have slight advantage in terms of ults.
Bunny needs to be careful. Lei Young just gives him a present. Presents into XQC, and the shield wasn't enough to protect it. Good biting grenade landed there by Crimzo. It allows Canada to pursue China inside the pylon terrace building. Agility's back on the scene there. Whip shots Lei Young back, but it's a transcendence now for China as they come forward. Agility's conversely step back, trying to protect his backline as all of Canada try and fold here, or at least give a bit of ground. Leave loses the 1v1 to Shore4, of course. No shot there. Agility's wants to try and get his running and will pop it pretty soon. And he does. Canada in a position now to play around his cul-de-sac. Agility's giving a lot of healing out over time, and Lei Young finding himself beleaguered and alone.
Well, XQC was in a position to actually block that self-destruct, but they don't have a Zarya on the side of Canada, so Crystal just walks up, lands a perfect shield bash, then the shield goes down, and you're able to connect on that big self-destruct, but Canada able to keep this one going. Shore4 getting some shots on Widow now. China, they will go now over to Hanzo here, so Hanzo can get up close, up to the high ground, make a change off of that as well. So a lot of changes coming through from China. Shore4 going back to this one. He's going to change as well. So both teams just trying to rock, paper, scissors each other. Let's see what he goes to.
But that was very important.
They're going to go Sombra Doom here, yep.
Shore4 uses Widowmaker's ultimate infrasight to make sure he knows exactly what China are playing before he switches. So he can make an informed decision and come up with ideally a counter pick here. He's on a Sombra on that high ground. Oh my! I don't know how Sky survived that one, but Lei Young comes to the rescue with Agility's clearly not quick on his feet in this occasion. Crystal now able to come forward. Every swing of that flail is giving healing. That's going to be a big deal here now as Bunny down to Evil Tail. Crystal now playing over on that payload. Self-destruct, but no, he actually finds Gooshway. Important pick. Agilities is now back on the scene, but he has to be careful. Breaking line of sight, staying inside the pylon terrace building. And no, he sees a transcendence and he knows that his days might be numbered here on this payload, so stall it out as he can. Crimzo loading him up with darts, kept him alive. Bionic grenade thrown down, and Lei Young can't get any healing, nor can Crystal. He's got to back up, and Lee's doing the heavy lifting on the point itself. Now China will return, but Canada also have their reinforcements. Big EMP. Lee has no chance to use that Graviton surge, but he still burns XQC down. 80 charge. He's doing a heck of a lot of damage, lasering through the Canadian backline. Barney just trying to stall on the payload right now to sound barrier to buy time. There's 10 seconds left for China, Matt. They're getting close, but it's going to be tight.
There's a big grab, though, Mitch. That should complete the point here for China. XQC will get on. May get Primal Rage, though, ends up falling. It's a really nice biotic grenade from Crimzo. It almost actually swung the tides in that fight. He connects with two players, but China does a great job just disengaging, using that Lucio speed boost to get out of the way. Then they bring it back. So they do have, you know, that you have sound barrier, you got trans here, you're gonna have Gooshway with the Earth Shatter, and there's no Reinhardt on the side of Canada, so you don't really have anything to block this. You have to stay spread if you're Canada here.
It is tough to take this last stage with only a minute left. Is it a stay of execution or just what they need? We'll find out. Agility's barrels forward here. Finds Gooshway as well with that knock-up. I'm pretty sure he knocked him into the pit there, Matt. And Agilities now also has that Meteor Strike delay if he needs it, but that's an immediate fight reset for China after losing their Reinhardt.
Yeah, and they used the nano boost there on the Doomfist to just scare China into using that Transcendence. They use the Transcendence, doesn't even save Gooshway because he ends up in the pit, but the lead so charged up on this Zarya, you know, already back to 80% here. XQC did already use Primal, but maybe you can get this EMP here. You get an EMP all the way up to the
Agility comes in from downtown immediately. Massacres Evil Tail, but there's more work to be done here. Rocket Punch to keep him on the high ground. He's been pressured down. Now time for the Meteor Strike. Doesn't quite have a target, so he opts just to return to the high ground here. A little bit of safety. The perch play seems to be the pick. Couple shots here, he's just throwing in Agilities, gets himself an Anubis. Now he wants to brawl up a little bit longer, stay in the fight. He gets a big knock up on Gooshway and the EMP to follow up. He's down to the self-destruct. Gooshway, no shielding available for him there. And Shore4 staying around the fight, harrying the stragglers as it were, as China are eventually starting to collapse. Sound barrier now brought out in desperation, trying to remain in the fight. Lei Young on the payload, he's hacked up. Demon can't do anything but stand there. No defense matrix available, and Agilities is running through the back line, cutting a swap. The Gooshway has returned, Matt. The Reinhardt is here for China.
Yeah, but the movement from Agilities, man, just being able to get to that high ground, stay alive on the Doomfist, just put down so much damage. The fight continues on the payload. This one's going so long. You get in these situations with these triple tank compositions as there goes Bonnie.
Self-destruct over the top. This could be deadly here. Lei Young finds Crimzo. The honor is down. Gooshway still on the payload. A parting gift. Crimzo gave Gooshway the anti-heal, but there's no one there to capitalize. Right at the end of the road here. It looked unlikely that they would even finish the map. And that was definitely nose to the grindstone stuff at the end of Blizzard World.
I mean, the fight lasts so long that Gushue comes back off of spawn. They end up getting that rally, and the rally just adds that extra armor, and you build up a Transcendence. I don't even think they used it there towards the end, but they had it if they needed it. That's where Canada, when you get that two-player advantage, they need to really like kind of push in and go after something. I just don't think they knew where to go and attack, because usually it's the first one to go is the Reinhardt. But then China, like we mentioned earlier, they play so split.
They were split from
so they play so split.
Fight.
So where does the Doom go when everybody's split? So then that's when like Agility's next UC have to be on the same page on where to go on targets. Agility's is trying to get up to the high ground, like get a little bit of a view of like where players are, where to go in, trying to get some healing as well. And it just takes too long for that next layer of kills to develop. And China gets everybody back.
Well, yeah, enough time for Eviltal especially to return to the fight. That was, I think,
huge.
The big breaker, and Gushue as well, getting back there. Agilities opens up the fight well. That was a very long-range rocket punch to secure the kill on Lucio. He had to essentially cross maximum distance to do so. But after that, he spent so much time contemplating on the Purge. You know what I mean? Not sure how to drop down. He even used his Meteor Strike to reposition back up to the same spot.
I mean, if you play Doomfist, you know if you make a wrong decision and you use some of those cooldowns to go in, you're pretty much as good as dead. So in that type of situation with the game on the line, they have when he goes in, they have to know he's getting a kill off of that. And they just couldn't figure it out after they downed Gushue.
Canada on the attack now. Finishing the map with any time in the bank would be huge for them here. And it will be Sombra Genji. Rather standard composition by our reckoning at this juncture. And you saw that Crystal was already scouting the backline of Canada, but forced to return to his own backlines. You could see him there. It's hard to see. He's under Eviltal there in the background as he returns. And Leave is looking for that one punch, insta-kill.
Yeah, and here with the Genji Sombra, you can put a lot of pressure on these supports. I know Zen, Ana. Zen obviously very good at defending himself. Yana not so much. Lee will take out Crimzo, so there goes the Ana 14 Canada, but Gushue goes down. But now that you've lost Node, it's going to be very difficult to push off this. But with Genji Sombra, you can get towards that backline like I was talking about before the fight went down. And unlike Doomfist, where if you get the Discord on Doomfist, you're able, he's a larger target. He's less mobile than Genji. It's a lot easier to hit. Genji, Discord lands on him, he can reflect, he can dash away, he can really change where you look, up in the sky, down low. So very difficult to track, as I know Canada losing some more players here. Nothing's really going to develop.
I mean, that was frightening there. You saw Gushue, he saw for just a split second, Banny was a little bit low on health, and he is left upon. Side note as well, Banny not normally a Zenyatta player in the Overwatch League, but he's really come a long way in this tournament. Showed us exactly what he can do. Right now, Shawful. So if you've been on the match field, been watching Shawful, you probably noticed that he's also been looking to try and just destroy the translocator of Crystal when he can. Put Crystal in a position where he can't get out of dodge. EMP on the high ground could be nasty. They found Sky and Eviltal. They've isolated them there. Eviltal, he gets himself a nano boost. Why not? They're going to come in with some of those orbs here, and Leave is quickly at his side to assist. Nano, Zen, I've seen it all.
It's incredibly smart, though. I mean,
keep him alive.
Yeah, when the Winston dives in, and then the Sombra is there, if they get the hack or whatever onto the Zen, he's as good as dead. There's no mobility there. So they use the nano, they make him more difficult to take down, they increase the damage, and they're able to keep him alive.
I mean, Leave and Gushue look like the left and right hand of just one entity, you know what I mean? But one's there, the other is too. Shawful again, nefarious plans afoot. He's drawing up something, ladies and gentlemen. An EMP perhaps on the back line? No, he'd probably rather hit the mainline tanks with that as well. He needs to get an assassination, but the rest of his team is being decimated in the backdoor. Leave is in. Canada is out.
That was nasty.
You cannot let that happen with this composition. I mean, Crystal does open with an EMP, which does render Canada without many answers to that, but I can't believe we're showing this on children's TV.
Sherbor's been, trying to get something in the backline, but you're just not able to take down either of these supports. Look at every time they are so close to each other. He did get detected there for a split second. Here's going to be the EMP.
Shawful wanted to come forward. Agilities! No! The nano blade is shut down! The sleep dot connects! And Sky can do it all. He goes down to Evil Tile eventually, and XQC does at least find Goose Ray, but Lee returns to the point. He sees that Canada are still trying to regroup for another push. 45 seconds left. The Maple Leafs move up to the point now, and XQC pops up Primal Rage to create a zone for his team to set up. But Shawfall goes down. Lee found him in the periphery towards the bottom of your screen. Shawfall was caught out by the Doomfist and Lee now. He's got some more work to do. Banny just disintegrates as it gives him the uppercut of a lifetime. The rocket punch stops short, but Lee is still able. He's bringing the shock forward. The shock trooper effect. Dude. Notice just going to get wrecked here. Stagger, of course. There's only 15 seconds left for Canada.
Leave is 34 limbs, 19 final blows. Only 3 deaths playing Doomfist. Doomfist is a hero where you really get punished for bad positioning. His has been great. Canada may have a chance to touch here. XQC goes over the top.
They see Shawfall on the McCree. They dive him instantly now. Primal Rage and Transcendence for China. They've got everything they need to whitewash this fight. And look at the push in here. There's nothing Crimson can do but sleep. The Sandman won't save you now, Canada. 2-0. China on the precipice of a gold medal match appearance.
So they have looked dominant here. The second map against Canada. The first one very close, but map number 2 is all China, man. Leave especially. Like I mentioned, you know, the 20 final blows. That is an incredible high number of final blows.
For 3 deaths, that ratio on a hero that requires you to be literally in the belly of the beast to do your job.
Yeah, and it's not like it was on like a Widowmaker, right? Where like you see a ton of just instant headshots.
He is not getting those kills from safe arm.
No, that is unreal.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, 2-0 currently the score. China looking very good. Canada, much to be desired for them. We'll head to a break and we'll return with the second half of this second semi-final.
The Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by Omen by HP, the official PC of the Overwatch World Cup, and by T-Mobile, America's fastest unlimited network.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
The 2018 Overwatch World Cup is brought to you in part by Corsair, T-Mobile, Samsung SSD, and NVIDIA.
After Blizzard World, China is now up 2-0 over Canada. Can the boys from the North manage to rally together and come back and make the reverse sweep happen? It's going to be very challenging, and China is looking very strong. Welcome, everyone. Golden Boy, along with Brand, Reinforce, and Sideshows. We get ready to break down all the action that we saw in games 1 and 2. And, you know, I mean, I got to say, this Chinese Overwatch team is fantastic. They're representing this region very well after a lot of people, I'm sure, have doubted them. Especially coming off of that, coming off of Shanghai Dragons season in the Overwatch League. Not to dogpile on them, but, you know, I mean, I think a lot of people kind of were just like, oh, yeah, you know, maybe China doesn't have the talent.
As well, because when we were having our 1v1s with Team China back in the Thailand group stage, they actually said that we feel like there's a lot to prove here after Overwatch League Season 1. They want to prove that Chinese Overwatch is capable of competing with the best. So.
Yep, and after all, a couple of 3 new Chinese teams in Overwatch League would be looking towards players like the guys here on the Chinese Overwatch World Cup roster to try and fill their ranks, and I think they're doing excellently representing their region.
And a player that has been attracting all the attention online.
Apart from Gushui.
Apart from Gushui, but I think, you know, Gushui, we were gushing for Gushui yesterday.
We really were.
Yeah. Like, no, that was a good one. But, you know, it's also Leave. This guy, everyone is going nuts for him. He has just been unreal. And look at the final blows here.
That's insane. It's honestly insane. Canada just haven't found a way to properly shut him down. We went into Oasis, and they just couldn't deal with his McCree. They were playing the Pharah, obviously not the best counter, so to speak. So Leave just had free roam, essentially, on that McCree, and then we saw for ourselves on Blizzard World as well, his Doomfist just crushing people.
Do you think, Johnny, that that's like because they're prioritizing trying to bring down Gushui in a certain sense?
It could absolutely be that way. Yeah. So Surefour usually favors hacking tanks or go for the backline, as we've spoken about before. And that usually leaves the DPS to roam a bit more freely. And there's really no other threat on this Canadian lineup to properly deal with Leave. I mean, a Doomfist is so hard to deal with in and of itself. And then this Zarya, I mean, when you get nano boosted, you build so much graviton. So there's just so hard for Canada to deal with so many threats at once.
What I love about Leave and also Crystal, who he plays alongside, is that they can play almost every hero. And they play them all at an incredibly high individual mechanical level. And so all you need to do then is pair these players together, give them time to work together, and you've come out with a roster that is extremely powerful in Team China. They play a very unconventional style, but they are super coordinated in the way that they do it.
I just look at that replay and like the backline can't do anything.
Yeah, what can they do?
They can't do anything.
Yeah. You've got to hit like some ungodly sleep on him. It's like,
but it's so hard, right? Because, okay, so you want to swap to the McCree, maybe you utilize a flashbang to shut down the Doomfist, but then you got to swap Surefour off of the Sombra. And so Canada, really, China are abusing the fact that Canada only have 1 hit scan player. They have Agility, Samangachu. There's no Tracer player on this lineup. That's Surefour. And he's on the Sombra player as well. So really, China are really abusing the fact that Canada just can't flex and adapt to their strategy.
It's clear that they did their homework. Yeah,
right?
They did their homework.
They stayed up all night.
They studied. They stayed up all night, and they were ready for this. But there was also a person that was ready for a very big moment as well, because apparently, while all this craziness was going on, we had a fan proposal. This is a thing. This was a thing. So this was actually some of our Chinese fans came to BlizzCon. Homie popped a question.
Homie.
And listen, as a man who's been married for 10 years, welcome. Welcome to the brotherhood and sisterhood of marriage. And that is a ring. Oh, my stars. I hope my wife is not watching.
That is lovely, though. That is lovely.
That is awesome. And hey, you know what? If you are, you know, just so wholesome. That's just awesome. And you know what? If you're a fan of Overwatch, you're a fan of BlizzCon, you're a fan of this atmosphere, and you're surrounded by friends, you know, people you just met, all rooting for your favorite team, doing the cool stuff, like, I think this was a great environment for that. Yeah. Bren, Josh, when's the wedding?
We haven't announced yet.
Yeah, it's coming though.
We're keeping it on the down low.
Yeah,
I'm the best man.
Yeah, yes, good job. Okay, I'll be the ring bearer.
Frodo, is that you?
Does that make me Sam?
No, very monstrous. Sam.
You can be. I think Puckett is Sam.
Yeah, Puckett's.
Yeah.
Yes, he is the Sam.
I want to be
to my
Aragorn.
Frodo.
You got feet like Pippin.
You can't be. You can't.
That's brutal.
Okay, well, you know what? We gotta cut it right there. Let's send it over to Mika, who actually has Karku, the community manager for Team Canada.
Thanks, guys. Yes, we are down here amongst the Canadian fans who are still keeping the noise going. So we have all these really cool fan sections going on here at the Overwatch World Cup. Has there been any pressure to make sure that Canada is the loudest fan section here?
There's no pressure because we are the loudest. And anytime we hear anybody else go, we go even louder.
They also have quite creative signs. I'm really, really loving them. Another question, what was the thought process behind the roster of Team Canada?
Back in May, we held open tryouts, and we got to see applications between players from all over Canada if they hit like a certain skill rating threshold. But it was great seeing the applications, seeing players from like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Newfoundland apply. Nothing from Yukon or Northwest Territories, unfortunately. But, you know, it's been great seeing the team come together. We did settle for these players, their experience and all. And, you know, the battle is lost, but the entire match isn't over yet.
That's true, that's true. And we have fans that are celebrating all over Canada, watching here right now. And did you know that it's actually Quebec law that if there is any kind of broadcast, we have to have a cheer going on in French, but I don't speak French, so is there anyone here around us that is that French insider Fiona? It looks like it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Guys, Canada is a French and English-speaking country, so we got to cheer in French, all right? Karku taught it to me, also Coach Jane taught it to me, so let's go, all right?
Here,
Are we ready? Are we ready?
Okay.
All right, ready?
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Ale, 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 ale. Canada, 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 ale, ale. Everybody.
There we go, yeah. All right, as these guys bring it out in French, we are going to kick it back over to the desk. Thank you, I learned some French today.
All right, let's try it out. Okay, Bren, Josh, you got to try it out.
What are you doing,
Let's do it.
man?
Let's do it.
What are you doing?
Let's go, Lions.
He's gone. Why are you gone, John?
When I say Ale, you say
let's go.
No, it's killing me. It's killing me.
USA. USA.
I was watching
the crowd.
The English-speaking Canadians, all of the English-speaking Canadians around Fiona.
Johnny left the segment. He's gone. He walked away.
Oh, that's a killer.
I think we take that as his resignation.
That's
honestly,
true.
I think that's what we do. So, you know what? I thought we weren't going to get past the day without someone getting fired, but it turns out Johnny just quit. So I think it's a win. I think we're winning.
Oh, that was fantastic. I love that little chant there as well. Honestly, all of the cheering sections have been fantastic as well. I love seeing the little crowd of like the nationalities all in the different areas chanting about it, but that one tickled me.
Yeah.
All of the English-speaking Canadians are like, I don't understand.
They're like, sorry.
Oh, that was brilliant.
All right. Well, let's one. Can we get
Johnny,
come back
go
here?
back, man.
Because you're the only
Get in
one.
here.
You're the
Come
only
on.
one who went for. Look how massive of a man this
He's
is.
a unit, man.
Look at it. Okay. Reinforce. Does Canada have a chance to come back into this game?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. If they play some more McCree, if they play some more Tracer, some more Sombra, they can do it. I told you they'd be fighting uphill. Let's go, reverse sweep.
What? That's true. He did say that he thought China would, struggle early on in the match and then come back to win.
Opposite, but
Opposite.
yes.
Sorry, yes, Canada would struggle early on in the match and come back to win.
I saw it coming.
I think we've already seen this before as well, though. This looks very similar to the way that China-Finland played out, where Finland was struggling to play their own game. We know that Canada play like a very set style with their Sombra and their Doomfist and stuff. I'm not feeling it, Jonathan.
I think it might be a 3-0, honestly.
We just go again.
Well,
we go again.
Yeah, we go again. That's it. It's time to get into our next matchup, and let's send it over to casters who put absolutely no effort into their wardrobe. It's Uber and Mr. X.
Yeah. Bro, we don't have the luxury of like working with The Rock all the time, having him pick out our wardrobe and stuff. Like,
no, I mean,
Golden Boy out there.
Thank you, Des, for passing to us. I'm glad Johnny rejoined the desk. It is crazy what like half a minute of crying into a pillow can do for a guy. He returns, and then he calls for reverse sweep.
The proposal is awesome, and then I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, I remember when I proposed to my fiance, and then just like Golden Boy, as soon as I saw that ring, I was like, oh, cut away from it. It's like, we can't be doing a redo. I can't go buy another ring. After
that, I just better not bother getting married at all.
That's a rock.
Yeah.
They better get security around there.
You love to see it, and a good omen for this Chinese team. I can't stress enough just how underrated the region is in general. I got a lot of people telling me like, oh, if you guys have watched Tier 2 more, you would know that Gushue is amazing. That's not actually what my point about underrating this team. I was at the first sort of tournament on Twitch in the Chinese region a couple of years ago. It's called APAC Premier. It was like the first tournament where China sort of opened the doors to the world, and we had like Korean teams, we had Western teams, and they look completely out of the loop. Like, their take on the game was different. Their take on the game is still different, but it's better, or at least it seems to work really well. They're forcing other teams to play to their tune. They're like the Pied Piper of nerds out here. It's ridiculous.
I mean, when you see in the Tier 2 scene and you see players play like amazing, right? There's always that kind of like, well, what happens when they move out of that and they get into like Overwatch League level talent and they start to play against teams of that caliber, and you just don't know how that translates over. Here with the Chinese team that they have, it is definitely translated over. Canada, they pick this map because there's a lot of verticality. It's not like a great type of map where, I mean, you can play tank triple support, but just think about the verticality here at the beginning. You can play a lot of different things. You can play the Sure4 Widowmaker here. You can play McCree like Johnny's been wanting to see.
I mean, if you guys saw yesterday's match, Team Australia, well, something that they often try and do is use that Orisa on high ground, right? And even use Brigitte in that composition and play right at the back of the map. You give a lot of space to the enemy team, but you also have these like kind of impenetrable positions. China, not opting to do that. They actually want to play close. Look at the Winston silhouette there up on the top, just on the notes portrait. They're going to try and drop down on Canada as quickly as they can. Canada need to scout this. They need to check and gain information. Otherwise, they'll be caught unaware. And it looks like they've done that.
So here's the thing for Canada. They can dive, right? You have this aggressive style. Somebody needs to protect these supports when Leave comes in. That's really, they just get crushed. So see, at that time, Noda's actually back there protecting. So you do a good job of that. Look, good things happen when you keep those supports alive.
I mean, that's well played by Canada. They're actually now using China's tendency to split against them. They're like, okay, they don't have all their eggs in the right basket, so if we can actually match them or try and avoid these 1v1s from occurring, then we're good. Canada covering their bases very well. Great awareness in general in this fight, and they move on to the point.
Well, I would say when China splits, the most important person for Canada, I think, is XQC. His calls need to be good, they need to be concise, and they need to be decisive. If he's not sure where to go, like, you're better off committing to something bad than doing nothing at all, right? So if they just commit and they force the issue here, I think you can see good things happen for Canada. China also at the beginning, you ran that Winston-Zarya combination again, which is quite interesting. Usually you see the Winston-Zarya.
It's time though, Agilities brings the blade to bear. He's found 2 already. The party grenade probably won't bother him too much. He'll add 3 to the list. Gushue being down, Crystal can't do a heck of a lot, but the deflect was in play. XQC is taken down by Leave in the back lines for Canada, looking squeaky clean on this particular map so far. Still haven't got that first tick yet though, when our Late Young comes in with an Anubis. Very durable D.Va there. That's the kind of paint that's not going to scratch off. Sure4 has an EMP, but he's waiting for the Lucio to come forward here. Banny was kind of zoning him away, but now he manages to get off that ultimate. Note self-destruct finds Gushue pretty quickly. Late Young also ejected from the mech, and Agilities will leak down upon him. They'll push China off the point, but still haven't got that first tick, man. Leave now rejoins the fray.
Yeah, they're going to get a sound barrier here, Canada. Keep everybody up. You're getting very close to yet another Dragon Blade. It's going to be Leave using the Meteor Strike. Does take Bonnie out, so now you're relying on Crypto for a lot of this healing. And you see when those Winston bubbles go down, can't heal through it.
I mean, it looks like this might be tilting back in China's favor here. Agilities needs to do a lot with his Dragon Blade, and he gets nothing. Gushue's Primal Rage, however, yielding massive results for China. They can push back. XQC now being bundled out the doorway unceremoniously. His shoes being thrown after him, one after another. And Canada pushed off the point. They get 1 tick, almost 2.
Did you see how sick of a play that was from Gushue? So he sees that they kill Bonnie with the Meteor Strike. He uses, so look, he jumps in, he puts the bubble down. Now he knows that they can't use the healing of the Ana, then uses the Primal Rage. So you still have value of that barrier from Winston. You can't heal through it. You deny all the healing on the point there for Canada. So just smart play.
He went coast to coast on that play. He's now rejoined the rest of China as they huddle together. Pressure being applied to the point in the form of a big angry XQC. Blunt force trauma, you say? He's got plenty of that. Lei Young forced out of his mech. XQC trying to deal with the ejected Diva. Dropping down, but he's slept in midair here. Not a huge issue, but it's the sound barrier here that could be dangerous for China. They're going to come forward now. Self-destruct delivered by Note there to the doorway, but quickly Evil Tail and Sky get out of the way. Both supports still up for China here. Crystal, of course, making 3. As Leave is very close to a Graviton surge here to really break the pressure China apply, but Note gets caught out. Mispositioned there. And Leave is able to help laser him down.
China starting to really get rolling here. Leave had that nano boost as well with plus 90 charges. Sure4 now playing Hanzo. You do have the Dragon Strike. I know Graviton Surge to combo with it. How do you attack this if you're Canada? Do you stay on this? Note gets close, they're going to chunk him down. And what they can do here is, really the one who is protecting the sports, like we saw earlier, was Note, right? Playing Diva. So if you can get him D-maxed from Leave with that Zarya, just put pressure on him, that allows Gushue to dive in deep.
Leave already so charged as well. There's been a break in the fighting, but Lee's been able to use the projected barrier to get some charge, and now they're going to push in. Sound barrier hastily used by Canada. They can avoid the initial front-loaded burst from that self-destruct, but Agility's looking low. XQC does get nano boosted, but now he's discorded. He'll get chucked down. The self-destruct doesn't find the target, but China just wanted to push Canada out to isolate XQC on his own. So far, they've been unable to tranquilize him, but Note is the first casualty once more. XQC gets his hands dirty, but the damage is already done. Canada once again, turn tail, back home.
And you spawn so close on defense here that any of these 50-50 brawls, China's going to come out on top in. So you're going to need to eliminate players fast. See some changes coming in here. Team Canada. You'll have Bonnie plays in. You need that extra damage, right? Burst those players down, just as I was talking about. So, oh, he's actually going to switch to Lucio. So now you just value the speed to try and get Agilities in there, right, on the Doomfist. You speed boost the Doomfist in, you get him onto the point and let him do work.
You cannot trade 1-for-1 as Canada in these fights, right? When they're trying to push the point in this way, you can't just, lose a Lucio and kill a Zenyatta, for example. You must get more value than you lose in those fights because the defending team spawns right around the corner. They get back to the point much quicker. A 1-for-1 trade for Canada puts them at a disadvantage when they're trying to take the point. That's really important.
They lose Sure4 here, so China has not had to use really any ults. They're kind of pushing up towards the spawn of Canada. So you see, even if they lose like 1 or 2 players in this first fight, by the time the fight moves to the point, they're going to have everybody back. And XQC just getting burned down so quick. The discords coming from Sky, and then everybody just focusing the fire. So difficult to play main tank in this meta.
Matthew, Leave has 75% average damage. Most players doing even very well on Zarya have between 40 and 60. This is an outlier. This is an extremely high amount.
Yeah, keeping that energy high on Zarya is huge. So 70 average energy is massive. It's going to be a grab. You connect with both supports. Canada, back to the spawn you go.
Yeah, that one. Well, you hate to see it, really, don't you? Canada never got a chance to really fight there. And again, they don't have any real big ultimates to work with. Leave hands over that ultimate, or at least employs that one. But the rest of the team, there are so many. If you don't use your ultimates, you're not going to be able to gain them back as quick, right? You sort of just sit there holding on to an ultimate, never get a chance to use it. Leave is like, no, I'll use the ultimate now. I'll get the time. I'll give ultimates to my teammates as well because they can get easy damage.
The hardest part for Canada is they don't want to use ultimates because they know if they use ultimates to get in, it's just kind of it's a false win, right? You know you're not going to be able to win that fight on the point. So they're trying to
what do you do
their way through.
How can one stand against such ferocity? Goose-Ray pushing in. Crimzo's almost off the map. He's almost just in another stage completely. He's trying to get back on the dropship, saying, no, take me back to Gibraltar.
Lei Young's right here. Even if they try and make it up and get through the choke, it's not possible.
Team China are spawn camping Canada right now. A display of dominance we've never seen from this region, at least not in such a high importance match. And they've still got ultimates to burn. They've still got Transcendence. Canada has not been able to put any pressure on China. They're being forced to use their ultimates to gain inches in progress.
And they're just going forward. At this point, they don't even care. It's going to be China using a sound barrier to get aggressive. Canada now absolutely forced to use it. 20 seconds left. They need to just give themselves a chance to even touch the point.
Shortfall racing forward, the rest of them there. Thought about the EMP, but it looks like the Transcendence was already used. There's no point going for him. It's Nate Young. That might be a nail in the coffin. He's just hammered in. XQC and Agilities, 2 of the tanks missing, and there's scant seconds left in the round. Canada have been completely stymied, stopped at the door. China, they're the biggest bouncers I've ever seen.
It's over 10k damage done for China there, as opposed to Canada's overall damage. As see, Canada, they just look kind of stunned. I mean, all of these players, you know, we saw in the Overwatch League last year outside of Crimzo, and they're stuck in their spot. That China has looked, you know, it's a little bit early to call somebody like a favorite, right? I think, but because of how good South Korea has been in the past, but you cannot discredit how good China has looked here.
It's difficult to assess, you know, how China stacks up against South Korea, for example, when these games are so clean from China. It's very hard to see a lot of glaring weaknesses. It looked kind of weak, a defensive hold on first, but then second, they were one step ahead of Canada at all times.
I think the things that I'm most impressed by, obviously the individual skill. We know all these players from China are very talented, right? I think it's how quick they are to adjust compositions to the other team. Some of the odder compositions that they have to throw at teams, I don't think everyone was able to game plan for. And just how patient they are with their ultimates and how good their ultimate usage is. I think those are the most impressive things here from China. As Canada, this is going to be a composition we saw a ton during Overwatch League on Temple of Anubis. Junkrat Widowmaker on defense with the Orisa. So you do have the Mercy here with the Mercy damage boosting the Widowmaker.
It's been many hundreds of years, and I guess the Grey Wall still works on defense, but now is their spear as sharpened as their shield is polished? It's up to China now to go on the attacking side, Matt. They need just to tick more than 56.6% on point B to win the map and the series and get their place in that gold medal match.
So China goes back to the spawn and they change, so they're going to go Doomfist here. When you see the Doomfist come out, it looks like you may try and put pressure on XQC. Orisa not as mobile. You can jump right onto the Doom. You can jump right onto the Orisa with the Doom.
Looks like Shortfall's out there playing the Pixar version of Whack-A-Mole right now. Trying to connect with body shot like you and the talent takedown there, Matt. No gets slept in
body shot guard.
He is able to return to his team. He does get body grenaded, but with such a big health pool and China not really seeming too interested in bursting him down. Yeah, it's late, Young. He will be late to returning to spawn.
So the Doom is good here. You know, remember, I believe it was Effect during the Overwatch League. Remember when he actually did the jump on top of the statue on the outside, got to the higher, and then he was able to close ground here?
Yeah, he can go from the arch.
Yeah, you can make that jump. Through. Yeah, look, if you get onto one of these statues here to the front, you can make that. They'll use the Nano Boost here on Aguche to initiate.
The agilities, we've seen a lot of this kind of play from, you know, the Junkrat play before, but not so much in this tournament. Crystal falls to the Riptide. Again, just the one kill is often enough, and Riptide will guarantee you that 9 times out of 10 at the very least. Infrasight here for Shortfall will be important, especially if they, you know, wonder if if China's making a sort of switch in composition.
Do you think China should have stayed on the Sombra? I feel like you could have got a ton of value out of the EMP on the bridge, or just use a translocator to get behind.
What is Orisa without that shield?
Yeah.
Not very much. I mean, switching off here, I mean, Leave obviously is going to always give you the, you know, the blunt approach.
And he gets the junk on the way out.
Yeah. Crystal with a Nanoblade as well can make a huge difference here, especially against targets such as, you know, your Junkrat. But Note finds Gooseway here, and we do see Canada actually sort of push back now towards that bridge.
So here's the thing with the Doom. Like we mentioned, you can make it to that top platform. The issue is, once you get there, you have used all of your cooldowns to get there. So if you don't pick up that kill right away, you're as good as dead, right?
Yeah, so. And you're trying to fight without cooldowns against the winner of the Overwatch League All-Stars. Widowmaker 1v1 tournament. A lot of 360 spins in that tournament, though, so I don't know how indicative it is. However, XQC Supercharger goes down, so Gooseway focuses at that first, and Crimzo's been removed. Lead getting the job done as that's dive initiator. And now Shortfall in trouble. Not much to be said about that one. Crystal says Agility's packing. It looks like Vulcanized Rubber ain't enough to stop the D-Blade. And now, the knock-up on Banning, he will be chased down. Crystal just follows with that swift strike. And it's just note, he will not be staggered this time as China, they got bigger fish to fry over on point B.
Yeah, and Crystal got right in Crimzo's face because he knew he had Transcendence, wanted to force it out before the blade, and Crimzo wanted to hold on to it. And, judging on how fast, China could be approaching this second point, you're almost better off holding on to it and then having it here because you would have had no other big support going into point B. If you're Canada, then you're in a position where you definitely lose. As Crimzo, he got split off from everybody, decided to just die with Trance. Probably the right call there.
Yeah, no Ana on the side of China right now, so it would be an essentially unhindered Transcendence unless Gushue puts a bubble on it and prevents people from getting killed, which he's demonstrated he understands very well, that interaction. Nice body grenade, though, on the way in. Lee takes a big chunk of damage and now needs to be careful. Meteor Strike, though, this is going to have Canada's head swiveling a little bit now. Oh, short gets knocked back into it. That's not how it was supposed to go at all. The Meteor Strike lands right on top of it. Perhaps he just DI'd in the wrong direction on that dash jump the Hanzo has. But Lei Young went down, so at least that's the trade. Like I said before, you need more than one-for-one trades here as China, and that's exactly what they're trying to make happen. XQC is down to Sky. No, going to get knocked back into the pillar, and he will be demeked. This is not good for Canada. This is a slow fight. Shorefall needs to save it now with some burst picks, but Gushue's in. Crimzo's down once again. Primal Rage is available here, but he's going to back out. China want to go again, but in a different way. Gushue does not fancy hanging around. They very quickly identified they didn't feel like they were going to win that fight.
Yeah, I mean, they lose the Lucio, so at that point, the Zen would have needed to move forward and use the Trance to keep everybody up. You don't really value that. You want the Zen to stay at distance, rain down the Discords, and then come up with the Trance to save everybody. You don't want to put that Zen in harm's way right away. So if they can get Sky in the middle, just as like a turret, right? Just sitting there as Zen, putting down the damage to be in good shape. This time they decide to speed boost everybody through. They want to get these supports with the Trance in the back corner.
Yeah, Gushue needs to get some value out of the healing he's receiving right now, but he gets Spartic Grenaded. He's anti-healed right now, so he goes for the Primal Rage instead. Fancy's a bigger health pool in favor of any healing whatsoever, and Banning's put up against the pillar. That's a very macabre mural that Gushue just created there. Not the kind of thing you'd see from Banksy, that's for sure. Pushing forward now, Crystal. Shore4 in trouble there as he just has to try and back away, and a hasty Transcendence now applied to the point, but it's nothing but a small bandage. It may not last very long. Banning now has to come forward. He gets shielded up a little bit, tries to stay alive, but China, they seem to be right here where they need to be. Charge across the point for XQC. It's a valiant attempt, of course, from the superstar, but it may not be enough. Shore4 down to one. Sky finds the last orb, but now he's in position to heal up. 5 stars on the flag, 5 stars from the judges, and China will be in a gold medal match.
Canada on D almost was able to hold it, but man, Gushue, when he gets on your supports, he ain't letting them get out of sight. Yes, China 3-0s Canada. So Canada, last year they did a great job. The silver medalists here at the Overwatch World Cup will not get a chance this year to get that gold medal.
China did not look great at the World Cup last year. They fell out to France early on in that top 8, but now they look like a completely different team, an embodiment of the killer instinct that we've seen from so many Chinese teams in other titles. Now they have it here too. Underrated, underestimated by everyone but their own. But now they're going to that gold medal match, and it's going to be incredible. South Korea versus China for the Overwatch World Cup gold medal. I can't wait to be there, ladies and gentlemen. What a match. We're going to go to a break, and then we'll be back with some thoughts from our desk.
Millions of matches streamed. A bit of real-time trash talk. Over 5,000 eagle emojis. And being the first to post whatever this is. For Overwatch players and fans, every second counts. T-Mobile is the network that can keep up, so you can dominate the game.
The 2018 Overwatch World Cup is brought to you in part by Corsair, T-Mobile, Samsung SSD, and NVIDIA.
And China is one step closer to actually being #1. The question is, they have to go through South Korea. Can they do it? We'll find out in a little while. For now, though, we're going to break it all down as Canada falls to the Chinese. And you know what? I mean, what a performance out of them. They haven't dropped a map here at BlizzCon. Yeah. They beat Finland 3-0, I believe. I mean,
they were undefeated in the qualifiers.
Go back, look in the archives. What do the archives say?
The archives have proclaimed.
They're not incomplete, are they?
It was a 3-0.
Let's hope they're not.
I know. I know. Let's best hope that I'm not wrong. But luckily, Emily is always there to keep us right, and she has Leave standing by. Emily, what's going on?
Hey guys, I am so excited to be standing next to Leave, who had an incredible game. And as you guys already know, Team China pulled an all-nighter to crush it today, as well as our fans from China who are staying up all night just to watch the World Cup. So Leave, this was an incredible game for you. And it seems like China is now a dominant force in the Overwatch League. So what does this mean to you for China as a whole? Leave， 你也知道你今天表现得相当不错，成绩非常好。那么中国队呢，这次在这个守望先锋联盟取得了很棒的成绩。那么在你心目中，这对中国意味着什么呢？
其实我们也没想过能拿到比较好的成绩吧。然后就是我们大家也打得非常认真，因为想就是为自己的国家。 然后这点荣誉吧。
So, Leave's being really modest. He's being modest. He says they actually didn't think they were going to make it this far, but they were really focused. They put a lot of hard work into today's match, and you know they're going for it. Now, question 2. Your team managed to defeat last year's silver medalist, which means we're now guaranteed for that medal or even the gold. Now, how prepared are we going into this match with South Korea? 那么中国队拿下了去年世界杯的亚军，你们现在马上就要面对韩国队了。此时此刻的心情怎样呢？
也不能松懈吧，还是得加油，因为我们都特别想拿这个冠军，然后我们也觉得我们有这个实力拿这个冠军。
Very well said. So. Leave said, we can't relax right now. We're really close, and we do think we have the potential to win, so we're going to try to win it. Thank you, Leave. Back to you guys at the desk.
Hey, you know what? I respect the modesty, right? This is a position for the Chinese Overwatch community that, honestly, it's something that they have not really had an opportunity, right? The success that they're witnessing here at BlizzCon
this really
very
is
huge for them.
Really is groundbreaking, right? Because we know that there is talent in the Chinese scene, but the Chinese scene or any team that they've sent to represent in a tournament has never been better than all of the other teams that the West has tried to offer. So anything from North America or anything from Europe, China have outclassed all of them here at this competition. Has never happened before.
It honestly sounds quite sad, but for the longest time, Chinese Overwatch was a bit of a joke. They were always lacking in the meta, and they were always a bit behind in
very
ways.
Uncoordinated.
But this World Cup, this really shows that this talent is coming together, and they're playing Overwatch in their unique way.
I was
and
guilty.
It's really working out. Yeah,
I was guilty of thinking
we all were.
Before the Thailand stop, I really, you know, I didn't really think too much of the Chinese team, but my eyes were open to it. These guys are absolutely insane. I can see clearly now.
There you go. Brand with the dulcet tones. So we have some highlights, obviously, of Anubis here, and this was going to be Canada's taken.
This map in particular really impressed me from China's perspective because they just play so proactively. It's okay, Johnny, you'll get to say it in a moment. But they are so proactive in every single play, and they held Canada off at this choke point here, so far forward, for such a long period of time, just with excellent ability usage, great coordination, Gushui, I should say, setting up a lot of these engagements time and time again. It's just beautiful Overwatch to see. Like, everyone can appreciate it.
I absolutely agree with you. I think one of China's biggest strengths is the tempo at which they play. They play a lot faster Overwatch than a lot of these other teams. They're being very aggressive and making minimal mistakes, and they're actually baiting mistakes out of their opponents because it looks like someone's out of position, but because China moves so fast, they can get the help to them before the enemy team can react to it. So they end up kind of baiting other teams out of position and then capitalizing on their mistakes instead. I've been very impressed with the coordination from China, because when you first watch them, it kind of seems all over the place, because you're so used to watching these disciplined, structured teams where they have a style and they always execute it the same way. But China kind of throw things at you very quickly. You're forced to adapt, and they're always one step ahead in a lot of these situations.
But even then, Canada wants to be the reactionary team most of the time. That's why they're so efficient at playing this Sombra Doomfist comp versus triple tank, triple support teams, because they like to react and then executing themselves in what they're facing. But versus China, they're not really allowed that, and so instead, China, they're the ones poking and prodding, taking their time, relying on Gushue to stay alive, and that gives the time and space for Crystal really on that Genji to execute flawlessly on Anubis. So in many ways, this was a stylistic matchup that I don't think Canada was really that accustomed to playing against.
Yeah.
And I think it really showed that this was not the most optimal opponent for Canada.
Well, unfortunately for Canada, they fall and will not be able to make it to the gold medal match. But they are going to take the stage one more time, and they're going to be going up against the United Kingdom to settle once and for all who will be the third place holder here at the Overwatch World Cup of 2018. That and so much more is going to be coming at you in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. The Overwatch World Cup will be right back.